Hey guys, in this video I'm going to show you some simple processing tips to spice up your lead guitars and get them sounding way more exciting in your mix. So for me, I think those processed guitars sound so much cooler in a mix. So stick around and I'm going to show you the processing I use to achieve this sound. Okay, to achieve a sound like this, we need double tracked lead guitars. So that means you've tracked the same thing twice. You can't just copy paste this, you have to play it twice, and then we're going to pan it out left and right. I don't have it hard panned, I have it kind of a medium left and right sort of thing, but you can obviously pan it as hard as you want or as narrow as you want. Find that sweet spot for what sounds good to you. Now the first plugin we have is the UAD 1176 Rev E. And these settings are exactly the same on both guitars. So we've got a medium to fast attack, and then we've got a very fast release with a 4:1 ratio. Let's have a look at how much gain reduction we have going on here. It's a decent amount of gain reduction, but it's also making this guitar sound really thick and it's keeping the dynamics really level. So we can hear every note very much the same all the way through. Nothing's dropping in and out. Now, the next thing we have is our EQ. So we're just using Pro Q3. And what we're doing is boosting a little bit of mids around 1.5K, about 2 dBs here. And we're cutting 3 dBs at 400 Hertz. It's a fairly wide bell. It's sort of a bit of a presence shift here. We're taking some of the low mids out and pushing some of the mids up. And then we've just got a low pass filter, cutting off some high frequencies above 13K. So there's not really much up there that we need in this. And then we're doing a high pass filter up to 134 Hertz, just getting rid of any rumble. So this kind of EQ is going to help this guitar sit in the mix a bit better and not fight with the rhythm guitars as much. So you can hear it cleans up nicely. The high pass filter is really cleaning up the rumble in the low end, and then we're getting rid of some of that woolly, woofy kind of sound around 400 Hertz. So it's definitely helping make this guitar cut a little bit better. You know, without the EQ, it doesn't sound bad, but it doesn't really stand out. It sort of just blends into the mix. So I want it to stand out a little bit. So that little boost in the upper mids is definitely helping. Now our next bit of processing is some delay. So we're just using the stock tape delay in Logic and haven't really played with the settings too much here. We're just keeping it pretty simple. We've just got the wet about 27%, 100% dry signal. And then I have played with the deviation on the left-hand side. So we've got an eighth note, but the deviation's at 9.33%. So that means that the timing's a little skewed. It's not perfect eighth note, it's slightly off. So the reason for doing that, on our other guitar on the right-hand side, we have an eighth note with a 0.67 deviation. So a really slight deviation here, but that means that these two delays are not going to be perfectly in sync. And so when the two guitars are panned out, the delays aren't going to be perfectly in sync. They're going to be slightly different from each other, which is actually going to help widen the sound. So it's definitely helping add a bit of sense of space to it, starting to sound a bit better now. But the next thing we're going to do is add a little bit of reverb using Valhalla Vintage Verb. So you all know I love my Valhalla Vintage Verb. We have it on the 1980s color, and we're using Bright Hall on the left-hand guitar. We've got the mix at 31.3% with a decay of 2.19 seconds. We've got the roll-off up to about 470 Hertz. Cutting a bit of the high end up to 6.8K, and that sounds like this on our left-hand guitar. Sounds Sounds really nice, giving it a really big sense of space now. Now on our right hand guitar, we have Valhalla Vintage Verb again, but just slightly different settings. So we've got a 2.5 second decay with a pre-delay of 25 milliseconds, so a little bit longer on the pre-delay. And we're using a different mode, Concert Hall. So it's just a little bit darker than the Bright Hall. We're still using the same mode, 1980s. We've still got the same low cut and high cut settings. And it sounds like this when they're combined together. So it sounds pretty cool. Just again, having slightly different settings just helps open up the stereo field a little bit more by having slight variations on either side. Now, after our delay and our reverb, we're going to have another compressor, and we're doing this to help bring the effects out more. So we've just got the SSL Native X Comp. So recently, Slate Digital and SSL combined their stuff together, and now if you are a Slate Digital user, you get all of SSL's plugins as well. So it's a pretty sweet deal. So I've been testing these out. I think there's some pretty cool plugins here. Would I go and buy these? I don't know. Maybe if they're on sale, but they're included in the Slate Digital subscription, which I'm still subscribed to. So I figured, why not? I'll just play around with them while I can and see what I think. So there's no real particular reason why I've used this compressor other than I was just testing it out. Could you use any other compressor? Absolutely. So all I've done here is set my ratio to 4:1, pretty standard. And then like a medium attack, 10 milliseconds, fairly fast release, 1.3 milliseconds. And then just brought the threshold down till I was getting a couple of dBs of gain reduction. So to me, that's kind of like the sauce right there. That's just making this all come to life because we're getting those effects kind of being pumped with the guitar a little bit, as opposed to just putting the effects after everything. They do sound okay and nice and everything, but this is bringing the effects out and making the guitar and the effects kind of like push off each other into the compressor. I think it sounds really cool and just makes it come to life. Now we could stop there because that's still sounding pretty cool, but there is one more little secret sauce thing that I'm going to add to this, which I think really brings it all together and just makes it sound awesome. So we've got our two guitars sent to a bus. So for me, it's just bus 23. And then I have dropped this in next to the guitars here. So this is where our lead guitars are going. And then we have a channel EQ here. This is nothing special. I just felt that I needed to cut a little bit around 765 hertz when the vocals were in the track. So that's just kind of like to make a little bit of room for the vocals. Just cleans up the mids a little bit, and when you have the vocals in there, it gives a little bit more room for the vocal. On its own, sounds kind of subtle. All right, and this is the last piece of the puzzle. We have the Tau Chorus LX. So if you watched the video I posted recently about 10 great free plugins, this is one of them, and I think this is a really nice sounding chorus effect. So basically, we just have it on mode 1, stereo width all the way up, and then kind of, I guess, around like 30% wet, and this is just adding some real magic to the guitars. Pretty crazy. Simple effects, but very effective. A little bit of compression, EQ, delay, reverb, bit more compression, and then some stereo chorus on both tracks. So we're not doing individual chorus, we're doing a stereo chorus to both tracks summed to a bus. And that's how we're getting that nice swirling effect across both guitars. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, make sure you hit that like button, make sure you subscribe to the channel, and if you want to support this channel, check out the description link below, go to my website, check out the range of drum samples and mix courses that I have available over there. If you're always looking for more ways to spice up your mixes, check out this next video coming up where I'm going to take you through 7 effects to transform your boring mixes.